Yeah, there's a huge attack. I mean, it's a full scale attack. Not just with masculinity and femininity. I'm talking about the family unit has been just dissipated. And I mean, look at the separation rates. Look at kids who know that the percentage of children with mental health is through the roof. And on top of that, you have a whole generation of kids coming up through these forces we're talking about, right? Instant gratification, the dopamine distortion, the anti-family focus. This AI revolution is coming like crazy right now. We like,
Scott, welcome to the show.
good to be here. Thanks for having me, Aaron.
Absolutely. My first and most important question is, how are you doing? Like, actually, Scott, for real, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Literally never had more peace, never had more joy, never had more rest, and go through 100 wars and realize it's all for nothing. And you'll surrender your life and have a ton of peace and realize what matters most, which is your faith, your family, and your friends and your health. There you go. That's me.
How long in your life did it take you to come to that realization?
40 years, man. 40 years. That's all it took. I am a 20-year serial entrepreneur, recovering workaholic, 4 kids, beautiful wife. She's an angel. We live here in Phoenix. And had a lot of companies, been in all the rooms, had all the successes and failures of life, and realized that I know what my priorities are, and I'm going to focus on those for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's pretty much the sole reason why I wanted to talk to you. I think this is more like a self-indulgent conversation than anything else, Scott.
Yeah, you're about
'Cause
to be a dad. You're about to have kids, man.
yeah, by the time this episode hits the airways, hopefully, God willing, my son and my wife are healthy and everyone's good and we're changing a lot of diapers and doing all the things. And so, because of that, my first kind of question is, how has being a father just changed you as a man?
Yeah, man. Incredible. We've got 4 kiddos, 9, 7, 5, and 2, a girl and 3 boys. And it's been the greatest ride ever. Children are one of the greatest blessings. One of the lies of our world is that kids are a burden, that they're an expense, not an investment, that we're overpopulated. Don't get married, don't have kids, serve yourself, build your own kingdom, get yourself secure, blah, blah, blah. Nah, that's crap. Like, all that matters in life is who you love and who loves you, period. That's all that matters. Trust me, man. I've had IPOs and exits and massive wins and massive failures. I have made and lost 8 figures in a day. All right. I've seen it all. Trust me, like who you love and who loves you is all that matters on your deathbed. And so many people chase this lie, and they chase like achievement. They chase status. They chase being loved and welcomed by all and being in the cool club. They chase comfort, security. They think money and stuff will get it for them. It doesn't, right? Actually, the more you have, the more responsibility and anxiety usually it causes after a certain amount of income. Cover the bases. And then when you pierce yourself with what I call the trappings of wealth, it literally just causes more piercings later in life. More responsibility, more assets, more things break down, more problems. Like it literally just happens. And it actually pulls you away from peace, pulls you away from rest, pulls you away from contentment. And godliness with contentment is actually the greatest gain in life. That's a beautiful life. And look, if you surrender to the Lord, you're going to be able to do whatever his will is, and he's got a way better plan for you than you could have. So that's really what it means to be a great parent, is just surrender your family to the Lord and love them like he does. Being a dad is hard in all of the best ways. Okay? It made me into who I want to become through all of the hard things that it's been. Right? Like, just like you have, it's not easy to get 8 hours of sleep every night. It's not easy to work out or eat healthy and get your macros in, and but, they're hard things for good reasons. Parenting is like the greatest version of that. Marriage and parenting makes you into all the things you've always wanted to be in the first place. Nothing teaches you more sacrifice. Nothing teaches you more selflessness. Nothing else in your life would you literally die for in a heartbeat and do anything for. That's
Mm.
total sacrifice, right? And your kids are
Yeah.
the only thing you create that you can take to heaven. Don't forget that. Can't take anything else. All right. I'll get off my pedestal.
Dude, you could talk all night. I love it. That's why we're here. But like I used to think that way for sure. Like I'm 33 right now. I met my wife 4 years ago and she totally changed my life completely. She's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. But I was totally in that mind frame of like, why would I want to be tied down? Why would I want to have that? I just want to do whatever I want. That sounds cool. I used to be a professional wrestler, Scott. So I used to like run around in my underwear doing WWE type shit. And
Yep.
so like of course I didn't want to be tied down, right? I was trying to do all of this stuff. And then I had this thing happen in my life. Actually, it happened 7 years ago on the day we're recording. I lost my sister, Rachel. And so
Mm.
when you lose someone you love, like immediately life turns upside down. And so because of that, I went on a journey, which led me to this podcast and all sorts of things. But mostly my point is that it led me to Dr. Jordan Peterson, who talked
Wow.
about this idea of responsibility. And like, you're never going to understand responsibility until you have kids, until you have something that you have to like really care for and love and move beyond yourself and all of your just whimsical needs of like, I want to go out tonight. I want to go on this vacation. I want to have this drink or I want to bang this chick. It's like none of that fucking matters. And you find out that it doesn't matter when you actually experience it, but maybe you can learn from other people's experiences as well. I think that's why narrative is so important. But like
Mhm.
it's true. And then I get to this point where it's like, all I want to do is talk about this stuff, fatherhood and being a dad. My kid's not even here yet. And this is the most important thing. Like, I know I have an obsessive compulsive sort of nature. That's why I was sort of pretty good in some of the things that I've pursued. And I'm going to be the same way, hopefully, as being a dad. At least I know I'm going to fucking try my hardest. Like that's damn sure.
Yeah,
But it's very
yeah,
interesting, sort of the arcs you go on in your life and like where you saw yourself like as a 20-year-old and now a 33-year-old and like all of that sort of thing. I don't know if, I mean, you sounded like you went through sort of the same arc as an
yeah,
entrepreneur your whole life, but I don't know if there was
yeah.
a pivotal moment like that that changed you.
Oh, many, many. Phew, we can get into it if you want, man. I'm a walking scar full of experience and wisdom to share. But first, I
Yeah.
want to just say, thanks for sharing about your sister. Let's
Mm,
honor her today and celebrate her life and
yeah.
crush it together in her memory. And I'm sorry that happened, and I feel like when that happens in family, or when my wife and I, we've experienced loss, in a way, when you get through the 5 stages, you're like, I'm going to carry you on with me. I'm carrying you with
Mhm.
me, and I'm going to honor you, and I'm going to live a life
Yeah.
that you can smile at and be proud of me, right? So we'll honor her today, man. Thanks for sharing that. And with situations like that happen, these are left field situations that come out of nowhere. Um, what they do is they clarify you. In the end,
Mhm.
they usually clarify what's important and what's not. They give you priority. And having a kid is a very similar result. Maybe it's different than a death because it's a birth. It's a life coming into the world instead of a life leaving the world. But usually the end result is the same. You get clarity, man. You get your priorities right. If you love them, you're going to be like, all right, time to get healed, time to get things right, time to prioritize the right things because I want to make sure that I'm the best dad and husband in the process of this kid coming into the world. I know Jordan well. We've been in a couple of publications together. I've loved watching him speak, seeing his journey over the years. The only difference between us is that I speak to 5 and 10-year-olds and their families and their parents for a living. And my goal is plain and simple, to be plain and simple. Jordan Jordan is he's too brilliant for me, man. Instead of talking to him, I'd rather be a fly on the wall. And few people make me feel so dumb, but he's brilliant. and, and he's wise, and I think he's wrestling with a lot of really important topics that we should all be wrestling with. But again, in my world, if you can't explain something to a 5-year-old, you don't know what you're talking about. That's the only way it matters in family. So I've been forced now for 20 years working with kids and families. We've had 10 companies, we've had 10 million families we've served in all of them, crazy ups and downs. I've learned that clear speech is most important. Things that a 5-year-old can understand is the way we should all speak, because people who talk above you and talk over your head and lose you don't usually know what they're talking about.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that's Jordan. Jordan's Peterson's a brilliant man. If you're listening, Jordan, I love you. You're amazing. But what I am saying is that clear and simple speech is actually one of the greatest ways to get through to someone, to help them understand and move forward in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned that as a coach, because I coached baseball, played that for a long time. And I always see coaches like try to explain something to a kid, and then the kid just doesn't understand. And then they keep saying the same thing over and over again, and then they blame the kid for not understanding what they're saying. I'm like, that to me doesn't really make sense, mate. Like, I bet if he goes over to the other coach, and the other coach who he has a good relationship and a foundation with says it in a different way that he understands, he's like, oh, great, I got it. Yeah, you want me to put my left foot in front of my right and put my glove out in front of me? Thanks, coach. Appreciate it, man. So it's like this repeated process of you trying to blame the person in front of you instead of like taking some ownership and be like, okay, how can I take a pause here? I can say this in a little bit different way. I know the end goal. What's this? Okay. Like, he's 9. Like, you at
Yeah.
least make it like, or like maybe he's a really good ball player, 17. So he understands the dynamics of the game. Still, he's not understanding it. So like everything that I feel like I want to be as a dad, I learned from being a coach, watching bad coaches, watching my dad, all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
But you see that all the time. It's like blaming the person for not understanding what you're saying. It's like, well, I probably didn't say it right way, so why not take some responsibility for that?
All right. I'm going to give you your first dad lesson. You ready for this?
Yeah, right on.
All right. So this will save you about 5 to 10 hours of misery a week over the next decade of your son's birth to 10 years old. Are you ready?
Hmm.
Almost all discipline in the home stems from a lack of training.
Okay.
So many parents they have conflict with their kids, tantrums. They remind them a bunch of times. They end up going through choices, consequences, disciplinary actions. Am I not doing it right? Am I disciplining them wrong? Why is this so painful? And they go through these cycles of mental exhaustion. This is how parents get burnt out. Okay. When you get through this, the eating and the nursing and the sleeping phase, a lot of the behavior issues in the home are not because you're disciplining wrong. It's because you have a lack of training. So getting the routines right? Setting up, we do all this coaching in our mentor family program. We do all this coaching for families, especially with younger kids and adolescents. You've got to get the training down, get the systems in the home for morning routines, evening routines, taking initiative, taking responsibility, cleaning up their messes. How do we leave the home? How do we enter the home? How do we get ready for bed? How do we, what's our routines for the meal times? Right? We have so many tips and tricks that we've learned from like the best families in the world. And that one move, if you just know, oh, the discipline cycles and the struggles I'm going through as a dad or a mom right now is actually coming from the fact that I didn't do the training right. And if it takes an adult 21 times in a row to learn something, it takes a kid about 63. Okay. So you've got to have patience and
Mm,
you've got to be able to remind them, right? We have this strategy called the I do, we do, you do principle. All
okay.
right. So you start with ever anything you want to do with your kids. You're teaching them to put the dishes in the dishwasher, you're teaching them to take out the trash, you're teaching them to clean up their room, you're teaching them to brush their teeth the right way, tie their shoes, whatever it would be. Well, you start with I do. So I'm going to do it. You're going to watch. I'm going to talk you through it as I'm doing it. So I'm brushing your teeth. I'm like, all right, we're going to go 30 times this side. Okay. We're going to say the ABCs. Then we're going to go the other side. And then we're going to go to the top. And you hold your hand like this. And you go back and forth until you feel it on your back tooth and the fronts and the backs. And then you do it again. Once you've done all 6 corners and sides, then you're done. Okay. Or we set a timer and we show them, or there's a light on. They go till the light's off. Simple things like that. See, that's training. It's I do, and I'm training you. And then we do. So now I'm going to watch you do it. We're going to do it together. I'm going to coach you and mentor you through it and make sure you've done it. I'm going to give you the definition of done, right? The room clean looks like this. This goes here, the toys go here, the bed goes here, like, or the sheets go up here. And this is, you're just training and training. And then you do. So I do, we do, and then you do. So then we're going to have 3 weeks in a row where you're working on these routines and we're checking it every day. We check it off every time. And when you reach these couple milestones, there's an awesome reward in store so you can learn the habit.
Mhm.
That's the basics of training, because most discipline and exhaustion of parents comes from a lack of training. There you go.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Outside of that, what are some other things you've noticed that really good families do often?
Oh, a million, man. We have hundreds of what we call family recipes inside of our family coaching program. And we cover 4 key topics. So I will list them for you, and you can just jump into any one you want and ask me any question. I'm an open book. So we have these 4, we call it the C4 framework. 4 C's that give your kids roots and wings to soar. They create incredible legacy. They make life more peaceful and joyful today, and they're incredible for the long-term benefit of your kids and grandkids. Because that's the holy grail, right? The holy grail is things that are you enjoy them, it's peaceful, great connection, they're learning the right capabilities today, and then it's great for the long term. Because a lot of parents we call those mentor strategies, by the way. And those are like the holy grail. We've been searching the world for those for over a decade. But what a lot of parents do is they do things that are hard today and not good for the long term, right? Like giving your kid an iPad, pressing the easy button on them, paying for everything, solving all their problems. It's hard for you and it's not good for the long term. And we call those miserable strategies. So there's
Mhm.
mentor strategies and there's miserable strategies, right? We want to replace the miserable ones with the mentor strategies. Other times, parents do things that are easier today. They give more joy and peace, but they're not good for the long term, right? So they might like outsource the kids, right? They might send them off to get a babysitter, or send them off to sports and school to teach them everything all the time. And the kids aren't home, so it's kind of easier on them. But is it necessarily good for the long term? I don't know, right? We call those medicating strategies.
Mhm.
All right. Because you're just like medicating through it today. It's not good for the long term. Like iPads would be that. Throwing on Netflix for a kid just because you got to do some stuff, right? Make it easier for you, but it's not good for the long term. Um, and then there's one more category. Those are things that are good for the long term, but they're really hard to do. And sometimes you have to do those, right? Like a disciplinary action or a consequence, or having kids go through the hard thing to solve their own problem and coaching them through it. That can be hard to do. But it's good for the long term. And we don't disrespect that. We actually respect that category. We call that the martyr strategies.
Mhm.
But a lot of parents find themselves stuck in the martyr strategies and they don't know how to transform them into mentor strategies. Okay. So we have miserable strategies, medicating strategies, martyr strategies as parents and families, and we want to move towards the mentor strategy world. And we do that by teaching 4 C's. If you get
Can I
these
pause
4
you right
C's,
there?
yeah,
Do you, I mean, just from what I've witnessed, do you think the majority of families who are struggling now are in the sort of medicated uh, box of what you're talking about?
yes, very few families optimize for long-term success because they're just trying to get through today. They're just trying to
Mm.
survive. So what they do is they end up medicating a ton. So they will, and I'm not talking about medicine, I'm talking about throwing the iPad in front of them, giving them a phone, letting them play games, just buying them the thing because they're complaining about it, solving the problem because it's easier than teaching them to solve their own problems. Like the list just goes on and on and on, right? And so they're
Yeah.
stuck in the medicating world. Other families, though, are stuck in the martyr world, like a family that has kids with special needs. Like my sister has spina bifida. That is not easy to raise a kid with special needs, or a kid on the spectrum, or a child with certain dietary issues or mental health stuff as they grow. We know how to protect against a lot of those issues, but we have more respect than anybody for parents that are what we call level 404 parenting, where they're raising a kid who's, got issues and they need more help. They need more special attention. They need more resources. You know, I have one of my kids is a defiant kid. I love him to death. No one's ever going to bully Owen, but it can be rough at times. Like he's just going to do
Yeah.
the opposite half the time. And so you have to learn how to communicate. You have to learn how to set up structures for him. You have to give him the power and agency, but also make sure the boundaries are both good, right? Whatever he decides is a good outcome, right? You have to give those kids agency, and you have to connect to them with the spirit of play, right? There's strategies
Mm,
for all these types of things that happen in the home. But yeah, we want to replace the miserable things, or we want to get rid of the miserable things, right? We want to move from medicating to mentor, and we want to have discernment with the martyr strategies because we know how to help them move from martyr to mentor. So
yeah.
it's a critical piece that a lot of parents don't realize. They think that I'm just stuck in this rut, and the truth is, you're never stuck. We can get you
Yeah.
unstuck. You know, we have a community of amazing families, young parents, new parents, teenage parents, adult parents of kids that are adults, grandparents, and everyone comes in. They go through our C4 framework throughout the year, and it just creates this unbelievable, lasting like strength through the generations of their family. It just binds them together, creates incredible skill sets, creates success, you know, for generations to come. And the C4 framework is this: it's connection, core values, those are the roots. And then the wings is courage and capability. Those are the four C's: connection, core values, courage, capability. Those are our four areas. So we take families on a 3-month journey. It's a couple hours a month. We have calls, we connect with them. We go through the simple principles of the best in the world that we've studied, and we show them how to implement these things in their home. And this is what we dive into every day, all day, man. So I'm an open book. Ask me anything.
Well, before we jump into the four C's, I just kind of want to share like a personal anecdote about how I've seen what you're talking about play out in real life with some of the athletes that I've worked with
Mm,
in terms of baseball. So, like, I think this medicated strategy sort of transforms young people, and not by like, I don't think parents are doing this like on purpose, right? Like, I want to have the belief and understanding that everyone is doing the best they can. It just makes my life a little bit better when I think that way. But I think that medicated strategy has turned at least the athletes that I see into entitlement. And so, for example, I had 21 baseball players at the very beginning of my summer season. Scott, guess how many I ended with?
mm,
10. So that means 11 baseball players quit throughout the season on something. And this is all kids that can play college level. So, like a very serious team. Um, and 11 quit on something that they claim that they love to do because they weren't getting the enough playing time. Now everything is based off merit. Yeah, I may have missed some things here or there, but like 11, more than half the team quits. I think that's an issue, and I think it says something larger about the kids we're raising. Not that they suck or there's anything wrong with them. I also see a ton of kids who are resilient and strong and capable and are like going after fucking things and really want stuff and like are able to hold conversations and communicate really well. But I also see the other side of the spectrum. And I don't remember what it was like when I was younger, how many kids were like that. So I can't like make a comparison if things are worse now. But I do see it in real time. And like quitting was just not an
wow.
option for me when my parents signed me up for something. It's like,
Yep.
no, you follow it through. If you don't want to do it anymore, cool. But when the season's over, we'll have that discussion then. So I just wanted to share that as sort of a, I don't know, something I've seen in real time that is actually playing out with the stuff that you're seeing and trying to teach.
Yeah, one of the biggest issues, it's one of our four forces that are attacking families and everybody, not just kids, but adults as well. It's instant gratification.
Yeah.
Our kids are being just flooded with things that instantly gratify them. Okay. This is screens, swiping up, seeing everything at any moment. There's FOMO all the time about what all their friends are doing and seeing online, every party, every online bullying comment, everything is online. The average teenager is seeing thousands of texts and comments a day. It's just nonstop instant gratification. We've got Amazon Prime. One click comes to your house tonight. We've got Uber and Lyft. You can go anywhere, even before you're 15 or 16, to get your car. Most kids don't even want a driver's license anymore. They don't even care. They're just using Uber and Lyft. So there's no more milestone events. They get everything the moment they want it. DoorDash, food right now, right? You and I used to have to wait a week for the next show to come out. Now we literally have binging everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody puts out a show, and very rarely. Most of it is just here's the whole season, binge it all at once. Right. And so when you raise kids in an instant world, you can't teach them delayed gratification. And delayed gratification is the number one metric for successful adulthood.
Mhm.
Like, how are you going to be married and be a parent with an instant gratification mindset? Like, you have to have delayed gratification if you're going to have kids. You have to have a delayed gratification if you're going to run a business or do any sort of work at all. What's the number one discipline required for investing? Delayed gratification. That's what keeps people from blowing all their money and going into credit card debt today. Investing in the future. You have to have delayed gratification. So much of what we work on is teaching kids the ability to delay that, to understand a future vision of themselves, to have courage to delay gratifying themselves for a bigger future payoff. And that has to do with having them solve their own problems, have them think long term, have them learn how to make hard decisions and do hard things and leave things better all around them and learn selflessness, right? We have strategies and recipes for all these things in the home, but parents are like, I didn't even think about that. I just want to make life easier for all of us. So I'm getting landscaping, I'm getting groceries delivered, I'm doing everything I can to automate things, and they don't realize that the kids are just, they're getting ripped apart with instant gratification. That's why half your kids quit the baseball team.
Mhm.
That's why.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. So what do you do with your kids, specifically to make sure that they are able to have that, do hard things, delay gratification, see a longer term vision for themselves? What's going on there?
Well, we have a lot that we do, but I'll give you one example. Um, we have a lot of principles that we teach families, and one of the principles is this: you can't spell learn without earn.
Mm,
This frustrates many people in education. You can't spell learn without earn. In fact, the only way people learn something is if they earn it, right? The issue I have with school, right? My wife was a teacher. It's not teachers' issue. It's not their fault. My wife's an angel. She was an amazing first grade public school teacher. Okay. Before we started our first company. Um, but the problem with education is that at school, you learn a bunch of lessons and then you take a test and then you forget it seconds later.
mhm,
In life, you take the test called experience first, and then you learn the lessons afterwards.
mhm,
You see the difference? And
mhm,
those lessons stick forever. And so we need to get kids doing so much more in the real world, right? Kids only learn through fun and real life experience when they earn things. So much of what we teach is setting up systems in the home where they're learning capabilities, they're learning money skills and home skills and relationship skills and life skills by earning them. It's about incentive structures. So an entitled kid, which usually is bred from instant gratification. Well, here's the equation for entitlement. It's very simple. It's giving kids rewards without responsibilities equals entitlement. If you give your kids all these rewards, freedoms and stuff and toys and money and privileges and experiences and upgrades to things in their life without any responsibilities tied to it, you're just breeding entitlement and victimhood. But on the flip side, if you give them all these responsibilities and no rewards, you get resentment. This is where drill sergeant parents come in. Tough love
mhm,
parents. There's no fun at all. It's just like, no, you're doing this because I said so, right? All the time. And you're withholding love. You're withholding things. Like, no, that's not the answer. That just causes resentful children. Those kids are going to grow up and can't wait to leave your house and they ain't never coming back, right? And I'm not talking about basement Cheeto eating video gamers. I'm talking about they're not going to come back for Sunday dinners and holidays and, summers. And you're not going to see your grandkids. That's the other side of the problem. So we have to balance rewards and responsibilities. When you have rewards with responsibilities, now it's rocket fuel for childhood development, for delayed gratification, for growing all these capabilities and skills. So anybody who's listening to this who's a parent, like, you've probably got 20 things you're giving your kids right now as rewards, medicating things that you're not tying to responsibilities. Or maybe some of you came from the bottom and you're like, I got to teach my kids discipline. I got to make sure that they have grit. They're going to work hard, all this stuff. Well, now you're just making them do a bunch of chores and making them do all these things because you said so. And you're forcing them to be compliant, which isn't necessarily a good thing, right? And they're resenting you. So be careful on both of those. You want to have both together. Rewards with responsibilities is rocket fuel for kids.
Yeah. Yeah. So that leads me to think about allowances. How do you think about allowances for kids? I was listening to you on Lewis Howes, and you said allowances are socialism, and I thought that was hilarious. And I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah.
Not that maybe you still believe that, maybe you don't. Whatever it is, what it is. I don't care. But I just want to, based on what you just said, how do you think about giving allowances, or is that appropriate, or how should they earn that, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah. Allowance is basically socialism. It's giving kids something they didn't earn.
Yeah.
And if you do that their whole life, you think you're teaching them money skills. You're not. You're just giving them money. And that's a big problem. So parents, at least the way most parents do allowance, it's like, look, here's the money every week. At least you're learning something about money and splitting it up or whatever. But that's an issue because your kids do not need to learn how to spend your money. They, they don't need to learn how to give away your money. They don't learn generosity that way. They don't learn saving or investing or sharing at any of that. Okay. Um, but then other parents, they give allowance and they make their kids do a list of chores. Okay. It's a little better. But the problem there is that you're making them do a big old checklist of things that they usually don't do all of anyway, and they still get the allowance, right? And so it becomes this problem over time where it still breeds entitlement. And what you want to do is actually tie the rewards to them creating value, right? They don't know individually what those things are valuable for in the home, right? And then the biggest issue is when parents don't have their kids deal with money at all, right? Like they're just like, well, I don't want my kids to have to think about money. Well, they're not learning anything about financial competency, and you're now paying for everything. You're doing everything for them. You're buying everything for them. So they're not learning anything about money skills. And so what we've come up with is these kind of 3 R's, which I mentioned 2 of them, but we have roles, responsibilities, and rewards. Simple as that. The roles in the home, these are the things you're going to do anyway. Like this is just your role in the family, right? This is your rent. Like you're going to make your bed. You should never pay your kids to make their bed, clean their room, dishes and trash, homework when they get, home from school or first thing in the day. Those are the roles in the family. But then you want them coming up with a bunch of other ways to help the family, not just what you'd consider to be chores, which by the way is a cuss word because kids see chores as like more homework and misery and they fight you and it's not good. But in our home, we don't do chores. We build skills. We build capabilities. Our kids want that. So for us, we're just tying certain rewards and expenses that they're in charge of to responsibilities in the home on top of the free stuff. So anything with laundry and pets and yard and garage and helping prepare a meal or watching a sibling or teaching them stuff or whatever it would be, like there's so much more than the basic small list of chores that kids can do to help out around the house. And if you can tie that directly to certain rewards, it's like rocket fuel. I got home, a few months ago, my preschooler Sawyer, um, I guess he was in kindergarten by this time. I didn't know where he was for like an hour. I come out of the office. I'm like, Amy, where'd Sawyer go? She's like, I don't know. We find him in the garage and he's collapsing 40 Girl Scout boxes of cookies into a big pile and taking them out to
Whoa.
the recycling bin. He's 5.
What a
Okay.
legend.
Yeah. I'm like, buddy, what are you doing? He's like, well, Dad, it's a gig. I thought it needed to be done. So I thought I could do it. I think it's worth like $3. What do you think? I was like, buddy, that's worth $5 and you're the hero of dinner tonight. Right? He added value. He gave more than he took. He created value,
Right.
took initiative. He took responsibility. That is the holy grail for parents. That type of stuff. When the kids see a pile of laundry, they start sorting it. They know that the more responsibility that they take on, the more freedom they get, the more
Yeah.
rewards, the more parents trust them. See, that's a great way to set up the home. And this is, again, on top of their roles and their routines, right? You don't pay your kids for everything. There's actually a lot more types of rewards than this, but you want to tie those privileges and freedoms and things to responsibility. And that's how they learn delayed gratification. That's how they learn skills for life.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Like Jocko says, discipline equals freedom.
That's
Guess it
right.
I guess it actually is true. All right, so we'll go back to the 4 C's now. The one that I wanna jump into first is core values because I think that's, just an absolute brilliant one. So,
Yeah.
how do you think about setting up core values, for your family? Does it start with yourself and then it bleeds out into them? Is there a long discussion about it? Are you writing it down with your wife? Like, what does it look like?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to unpack here, but the first thing I'll say is a sum total of almost zero families ever have any values at all. They want their kids to learn every trait and every character trait and every virtue. Well, you've got to have an identity as a family. You got to give your kids like a definition of what your last name means. If you don't have that, they're rudderless. They're confused. They don't when they go out in the world, they're not going to have an anchor to revert back to. And so that's why core values are so critical. Every business has them, but few businesses actually have their employees use them. That's the problem. You ask any employee, they're like, what are your company values?" They're like, "I don't know." That's a problem. And so even those families that do it in their home and create values and mission statements and things like that, they're never translated. They're never like they're not lived out. They're not remembered. They're not actionable. And so the real key here is to create values that stick and are lived out and they're used in the home. They're reflected on. The kids take them and run with them without you having to like force it and use a bunch of energy and time. Right? All the families I've ever met that have values or mission statements, it's just in a Google Doc somewhere, right? It's in some folder. At best, it's at the foot of the stairs on the wall and no one ever talks about it. And so we have this thing that we've created. It's called the core word method. And the core word method, we've learned this serving millions and millions of elementary and middle schoolers and high schoolers. And it's basically like an acronym that sticks, that everybody lives by. And we help you create that by doing like deep research on your family history. We help you start thinking through what are your anchor values. And we come up with this like core word phrase that starts to be said in the home. So like our family, I'll give you an example. My kids say this every night at dinner, even my, 2-year-old. It's called faith, family, and fish. So that's what we stand for as the Donnell family. Faith, family, and fish. It's easy to remember. It's alliteration. And fish is our core word, where fish stands for fun and adventure, integrity, service, and heavenly work, right?
Mm.
Which is hard work that God wants us to do, right? So that's faith, family, and fish. So my kids rattle off all 6 of those every night at dinner, right? After we sit down, pass out the special plate, say grace, light the candle, and then bang. They're like faith, family, fish. And now they're starting to share stories unprompted of the day where they were displaying the family values. And they're calling out
Cool.
each other for the things they saw them do. Okay. Dude, this is how you make things come alive in your home. We have a whole series workshop on how we literally do it for you. Every family, we go through your background, your family stories, your family sayings and bumpers, and we create this easy system that gets used in the home and actually comes alive. Because if you don't do the method the way we've set it up, it's not going to get lived out. You're never going to talk about it. The kids aren't going to remember it. No one's going to live by it. You're not going to be able to correct to it, right? But if you do it the right way, oh my gosh, it's incredible. Like our kids are correcting themselves to our family values and each other. We're injecting them all over the home. We're reflecting on them all the time. We're detecting them in our kids and we're celebrating it with them. And you've got to have a system like this or the kids aren't going to remember it, right? Like this is why values are so dumb in most companies. It's like we're going to be environmentally friendly and we're going to have service and we're going to be kind and we're going to be diligent and we're going to work hard and like nobody cares about those and nobody lives by those. You need something compelling. You need something that actually um, turns into action and behavior, if that makes sense. That's the only way core values even matter. And when you do that in your home, it creates this insane connection. It creates this unbelievable identity. Like they know how to live and act and behave because of these values. And so that's why we do this with families all over the world. It's what the top families in the world all do. And by the way, when I say top family in the world, we've been studying, we've had 10 million families we've served in all our companies, but, we want to try to find the top 100 that had multiple generations blowing by their parents in a row, 3, 4, 5 generations where the kids just blew by the parents in family faith and values, in mindsets, in skill sets, in relationship depth. All these things we actually all care about, right? Not just net worth. Net worth is actually sometimes a detrimental factor in families because you end up ruining your kids and grandkids with it. But it's all the ways that create generational success. And even the best families don't get all 4 C's, man. Like every family has crazy in it. Like no matter who you are, it doesn't matter. Everybody gets hit with stuff. There's pain in every family. There's struggles, there's trials, there's death, there's sickness, there's financial hardships at times, there's estrangement and problems. But if you work these recipes, man, then over the long term, you bounce back stronger than ever. And it really just creates real legacy. And so that's what we focus on, and core values is one of the key pieces.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this guy named Dr. Michael Gervais, but he's a sports psychologist. And I've studied a lot of his work. And he talks about this exact same principle inside of businesses. He said most businesses that he goes with or goes to, he asks, "Hey, what are your first principles? What's your philosophy? What are your core values?" And the CEO or whatever just like points to the wall where they have like a picture of some words. And he's like, "Well, what do you do with those?" He's like, "Well, we put them up on the wall." It's like, well,
Right.
you can't just slap some words on the wall and like expect the thousands of employees do you have to live by that when they don't know why, they don't know the reason, they had no hand in coming up with the values, like they're not sure how they implement them while they're working at the job. It's just like a thing on the wall. And That's exactly what you're saying. It's like, so it makes a lot of sense. I mean, the best teams that I've been on in terms of sports, because I've never worked a real job. So I've
Yeah.
like never been in an office. I don't know what that looks like. But the teams that I've been on, like we know who we are. We're okay, we're fucking resilient, gritty, and we hustle. And everyone does that. And when we don't live up to that, we know why. And we can go back to those values and say, okay, we got to do this tomorrow because we weren't as gritty as we normally were. We gave up in the second inning because he scored a hit, whatever. Fuck it, you know what I'm talking about. But like
Yep.
that's a beautiful thing. And then to be able to have that with your kids and your family, I think is such a magical thing. So thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah, I'll give you one more tip on this side. People have values, but they don't have stories.
Mm,
And kids think in stories. This is why kids love bedtime stories. In fact, everybody thinks in stories. Just study story brand. Every great company's marketing has just great stories, great testimonials, right? That sells. That's what works. That's what people remember. And so stories win the day. And so many families they just don't know how to tell the stories of their past. They don't know how to tell the stories of their ancestors. They don't think about translating those down and teaching them to their kids and grandkids. It just sort of goes away. It dissipates. And, what I've learned is every time an elder dies, a library burns,
mm,
right? If you want to get rid of a family or a society, just get rid of the chief storyteller. That's what I've learned. And we've got to get better as a family of telling the stories of our heritage. We've got to get better of giving our kids like, hey, what does it mean to be a Donnell, right? What does it mean to have our last name? And we need to learn how to graft in our children's stories into the family values, right? Like we want to go from teaching them about their great great grandparents and how their parents met and our first trials in life and coming of age and coming to faith and all these different things we want to teach them. We just don't even think about that. There's so many stories that die with older people when they die. It's a tragedy to me. And so the more you can tell great stories to your kids, and we teach how to tell the best stories, BEST, it's actually one of our acronyms. We teach families how to tell the best stories to their kids and then look for those stories in them so they can create more of an identity together as a family.
yeah, that's beautiful. Um, yeah, I love storytelling. well, I think maybe everyone does. We're all at least attached to it, but like me and my WWE wrestling brain, like all the best stories are just like ones that a human can actually be attached to. Your best friend turns on you, he steals your girlfriend, right? All these sort of real life stories.
Yep.
I mean, Dr. Jordan Peterson talks about that all the time. That's sort of his bread and butter outside of like, masculinity and building strong men. But like, anyways, we could talk about that all day. But my next sort of point that I wanted to address with you was if you think there's an attack maybe on fatherhood or an attack on the family unit right now in our culture? Or if not, why do you think there is or isn't? Or what are we doing about it? Or what should we do about it?
Yeah, there's a huge attack. I mean, it's a full scale attack. Not just with masculinity and femininity. I'm talking about the family unit has been just dissipated. And I mean, look at the separation rates. Look at kids who know that the percentage of children with mental health is through the roof. And on top of that, you have a whole generation of kids coming up through these forces we're talking about, right? Instant gratification, the dopamine distortion, the anti-family focus. This AI revolution is coming like crazy right now. Like I could go off for hours on that alone. But what it's doing is it's ripping apart the fabric of family. Our whole mission at Fig and Eagle is to take back the family for this very reason. So I'll just give you an example. When you and I were kids, the number one show in the world was Home Improvement. Two parents, three sons, living in the same house, talking about real issues, going through real life situations. It was a nuclear family. They knew their neighbor Wilson over the fence. You never saw his mouth, but he gave wisdom to Tim when he was being a goof off, right? That was the number one show in the country for a decade. Fast forward to the mid 90s. Guess what the next 20 years of top shows were? Two shows, Friends and Seinfeld. Those were the top shows in the world for the next couple decades. No kids, no marriages, live for yourself, live in the big city, do what you want, sleep around, have your own set of values, and let's have fun.
Mm.
That was 2 decades on our culture. So we go from Home Improvement to Friends and Seinfeld. Okay. So you wonder why there's an all out attack on husbands, fathers, on families, and period. That's because their responsibilities and their roles are being stripped from them. And so that's why we've got all these issues inside of a home. I'm talking to so many families and coaching them right now of adult children, and they're going through what I call 1,000 sleepless nights. Okay. This is where you've got a teenager or a kid in their 20s with an eating disorder, in and out of rehabs, mental health issues like crazy, suicidal, depression, medication. Parents they are losing their minds because they're only as happy as their least happy kid. And these things, the
Mhm.
parents just feel that weight, or families where you raise your kids for 18 years, you try to teach them the right stuff, but you don't have the values and the connection and the stories, and you don't have that identity put in them. And then they go to college and they go believe the exact opposite of everything you taught them. They turn their back on your family values because you never transferred them. They turn their back on the family faith. And then the people in their life that become their influence tell them that you're the enemy. So now they cut you off, right? Do you know how miserable that is for parents of adult children that do that? What a
Can't imagine.
disrespect. Oh, your parents are toxic now. Your parents are an infection. They're a cancer. They're the enemy. You got to just cut them off, cut them out of your life. This is happening by the millions, Aaron.
Wow.
And it's disgusting is what it is. And it's not until decades later where they realize, oh wow, my parents were doing the best they could. They gave up a lot. They sacrificed a lot for me, and I just totally wasted my 20s and 30s. And meanwhile, for 20 years, your parents are spinning, miserable, sleepless nights, praying nonstop. What are we doing wrong? It causes arguments and issues and rejection and estrangement. And now I'm talking with older parents who are like, I don't want my kids to have any of my stuff.
Mm.
Those kids are so disrespectful. They're so against all the things we tried to raise them in. Where did we go wrong? Where were you 20 years ago, Scott? Where were you 30 years ago? I don't want my kids to get a penny. See those kinds of fights, right?
Wow.
Do you want to know what adult entitlement looks like? It looks like waiting for your parents to die to get their stuff.
Holy cow.
How many parents in the world right now are in their, late 40s, 50s, 60s, waiting for mom and dad to go so they can get the house and the Schwab account and the assets? So what they do is they're thinking, oh, okay, well, they're probably going to go here. And then the parents live decades later. And then for decades, you're literally not risking, not growing, not taking more opportunities, not going on the things you want to go on, not growing your capabilities and skills, not taking more responsibility of your family and your legacy. And that all those decades are just wasted, waiting for someone to die. I just talked to a mom 2 days ago, and her father passed away and left the family with millions of dollars that the three siblings are now in court for a decade over. They're fighting in court for a decade over millions of dollars. They've probably blown half that in legal bills.
Yep.
See, these are the nightmares that come when you don't nail the 4 C's. It's when you don't learn the mentor family framework. I have countless thousands of nights of sleepless nights. I probably have 10 of them in the last couple weeks of families that we're working with. They're like, what do we do? And it's never too late. It's never too late, but it's painful. And what we're trying to do is keep those things from ever happening in the first place. So, dude, you taking the initiative to learn this stuff now before you even have your first kid, hats off to you, man.
Mm.
Massive respect. I wish everybody had the mindset that you have. I'm going to find the best. I'm going to learn from them. I'm going to get it right. I'm going to get it right the first time. Like if I were to put one word on parenting that's better than all the other words for parenting, you got gentle parenting, you got hover, helicopter, laissez-faire, whatever. The word I would put on it is proactive.
Yeah.
That's it. Just be proactive. Have a plan, learn from the best, get coaching, get it right before it starts or early on in the game, and you'll be great. But you've had coaching in business. You've had coaching in sports. Why are we not doing coaching for the most important asset in our lives, our families? It blows my mind. Right? I just talked to a family. They were like, "Yeah, so we just took thousands of dollars out of our inheritance and college funds and everything to put into the coaching because we know we need this so bad. And we know that the return is going to be 100-fold in every direction, financially, emotionally, spiritually, relationally. So that's the kind of thinking we want because the best families in the world, you know what they do? They take time to work on their family, not just being in it. They get coaching.
Mm.
They get help. They get financial advisors. They get estate planners. They get family coaches. They work on their family. They don't just be in it trying to survive it.
Yeah. Yeah. Listening to you talk about how some of these adult children think about their parents is like really wild to me.
Yep.
Like I'm right now currently my mom is 63 and my dad is about to be 70 and I got them in the gym. I got them taking all the supplements they can I want these people to live till they're 100 so
Yep.
they can experience everything that they have to offer. They're retired, they're about to have their first grandkid. Like what a fucking time, right? Man, let's go. Like how awesome is that? And
Yep.
on top of that, like my parents are the best. The absolute I'm the luckiest person in the whole entire world. That was my competitive advantage. Unbelievable. Nothing can ever top that. But we've stuck together as a family, and my parents have stuck together as a husband and wife, even after losing a daughter. Like
Mm.
I can't imagine sort of the fucking pain.
Yeah.
Like I lost a sibling, right? Like that sucks, but it doesn't compare to losing a child.
Mm.
Like, and so for us to still have stuck together and we're still I know they have arguments and my parents fight and I'm sure they pass guilt and shame and all those sorts of things, but they've worked through it all to be here in this spot, to be able to be first time grandparents. And it's so fucking cool to see how excited they are, especially my dad, because he's not like a big emotional guy, but I just fucking, I see it. I'm like, oh yeah, he's like, Aaron, I got to get in the gym. I feel lazy. I need to be ready to go. I'm like, you
Yeah.
bet, man. Let's rock and roll, dad.
Yeah. He's on
And
fire.
so
He's hungry. I love
it's
it.
just a cool, it's like, it's a cool atmosphere. I know everyone is not as sort of lucky as I am with the parents that I got, but you could still see like what it takes to like just try and raise a kid and like at least have some appreciation for the fact that they did it, they tried. And I think now it's like you go on social media and you see like, what's the point of even getting married? Why should you even want to be a father? Like there's no benefit in it at all. It's like, well, then if you hear that messaging all the time, then you're not going to get the prerequisite skills. You're not going to be proactive about it because you think it's a waste of time and it gives you no benefit. And so
Yeah,
all of these things have a role in like us not taking care of the things that are most important to us, which is these little minor family, not minor, these families that we have that have this like trickle down domino effect into the rest of our society.
that's
I know
right.
you talk about like having friends over and having dinner views and all these communities that you create. Like there's so much a trickle effect. Like why wouldn't there be if you're creating such a great little community there and then it bleeds out into so many other different things. Sorry for getting kind of fired up about that, but
No, I'm with you
um
all the way. Like, you know who says don't have kids? People with no kids. People who have never held a baby that they made.
mm,
People who have never seen a 2-year-old laugh uncontrollably for 10 minutes. People who have never had daddy-daughter cuddle time, okay? They've never had that. So they're just like, "Yeah, kids are we're overpopulated. Kids are an expense. It's a waste of time." Do you, live your own life, follow your career, have all your dreams come true. It's like, you know what? Yeah and no. Like, maybe you just don't know what dreams are out there. Same's in marriage. People who tell you to get divorced because things are hard. I'm not talking about abuse. I'm not talking about infidelity and things like that. But people who tell you to get out of a relationship that's hard are usually people that got out of a relationship that was hard, that never saw what it was like to be your parents or mine, that made it 40 years. And when you either go through 1,000 fights in a marriage or you split up. But you get to this point where it's like, you know what? You're you, I'm me. I love you no matter what. My job is to praise the good things in you and let God take care of the rest. And we're going to go buy gravestones next to each other because that's where we're being buried. And one of us is going to die before we get divorced. That's almost what it takes these days, man. My wife and I have been through 1,000 issues, whether it's conflict, miscarriage, death, near bankruptcy, lawsuits, painful issues in family, painful things with friends. And we're just like, nope, we're going to get through this. We're going to figure it out. We're going to forgive and we're going to start over in the morning because I love you, period. And I'm going to take care of myself and you're going to take care of yourself and we're going to work on each other, work on ourselves. So you ever heard this triangle theory of getting closer to God? Okay.
mm,
So it's actually pretty crazy. Couples that pray out loud together, less than 1% of them ever get divorced. There's the crazy stat. Over 50% of divorces happen in marriage. But if you just pray out loud together every day, less than 1%. Something crazy. But there's this triangle at principle where you and your spouse are at the bottom corners of the triangle. And at the top of the triangle is God. And the closer you both get to the Lord, the closer you get to each other going up that triangle. See, that's a great way to face your life. Not at each other, nose to nose, fist to fist, but shoulder to shoulder, going in a direction with a vision for your life. See, when you approach a problem, a lot of couples think that the other person is the problem. It's just the way that you treat me. You disrespect me. You don't love me. You don't give me the physical affection or attention I need. You don't have the emotional awareness to see what's going on. If only you, if only you. That's where all these eruptions come from in a marriage that just wear you down to death. And the best way to look at it is going up this triangle shoulder to shoulder, saying, okay, the problem is not me. The problem is not you. The problem is over there. And we are shoulder to shoulder looking at that problem saying, we're on the same team. How do
mm.
we attack that solution? What's the solution that we can work on together to attack that problem in our relationship or in our family or in our life? That one move, that one reframe is worth all the gold because what it's going to do is it's going to remove the other person from being the enemy. No, we're on the same team. And yeah, there's a conflict right now. There's a problem. You're not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. We both got problems and issues. And our goal is to be on the same team and work at that issue together. We're going to handle that together. I am on your team.
Yeah.
See, these are the kinds of things that most people get married thinking that the other person is going to fill all these God-sized holes in them. And they have all these expectations and it never works ever. But the couples that I see that make it for the rest of their life and they have these insanely beautiful golden years with kids and grandkids and health and just sweet time, they fall more in love, even though they've had decades of problems and fights and conflict, because they get to this point where it's like, we're on the same team. and the
Yeah.
issues are out here, and we're on this side, and all the others can go pound sand, and we're gonna work on our problems together and prioritize each other. That is really the secret, man. It just is. You wanna hear a funny story?
Of course.
My grandpa was a legend. He just passed at the end of last year. Guy was a legend. He was Ronald Reagan's president of the US Bank League. Guy built a $1 billion bank with my dad. They put all but a few $1 million in a charitable trust when they sold it. He was in the Korean War and created like an orphan smuggling thing to help all these orphans go and to get adopted in the States. Guy's a legend. All right. Literally half the town shows up at his funeral. And I told this story.
Wow.
I was honored to give the eulogy. It was incredible, man. I was crying the whole time. Anyway, I told this story about right when I was getting married to Amy 15 years ago. We're in his blue truck chopping wood out at the beach. And I just looked at him because he was married to my grandma Joyce for 67 years before she passed.
Oh.
Like a legendary family. Like, talk about legacy. And I was like, Papa, this is a weird question, but have you ever considered divorcing grandma? And he looks me right in the eyes and he goes, Divorce? No. Murder, yes. But divorce, never.
Yeah,
Such a perfect old person comment. But in a
perfect.
way, it's perfect. It's like, yeah, you get super angry, you get super resentful or bitter or frustrated, but it's like you gotta gut it out. You gotta have diligence, you gotta have discipline, you gotta have grit, you gotta be anti-fragile, and you gotta see the issue as out there that we're working on together, shoulder to shoulder, right? Like, that's the trick, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like marriage is like when you think about it, it's strange. It's like, okay, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with this one person, like kind of no matter what. And then when you think about it, it's like, well, okay, if we can make it work, that's fucking cool. And this will be like one of the greatest relationships ever in my life, outside if I have kids. That'll be cool as well. But like that's a wild thing to think about. And if you say I'm gonna commit to it, that's really that's really cool. I have sort of a random question for you because I've been thinking a lot about this. You said something about the person you're marrying being your whole everything and filling all of these holes. Do you
Yeah.
consider your wife to be your best friend, or is that something that you have for someone else? She's just your wife, or how do you sort of view that hierarchy?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's not been easy because I got close buddies. Like, I got really close brothers that are like probably 5 guys, they know everything about me,
Hmm.
but there's something beautiful in that, by the way. Like, you need to surround yourself with other good couples who do not backstab or gossip about their partner, but they know everything about you. See, my boys know everything about me. They know my secrets, my temptations, my sins, my pain, my struggles, my issues. They know everything, man. They keep me accountable. They encourage me. They check in. They pray. But my wife is still my best friend. At least that's what we're working on, right? In the middle of a conflict or a fight, sometimes, like, you're not acting like my best friend. You're not acting like Carl and Bennett and Caleb and John and Gabe. You're not acting like my bros. But she's my best friend, and that's the mindset.
Yeah,
And because I'm never gonna have the oneness with my buddies that I do with my wife. I'm never gonna have the intimacy, the connection, the shared experience. We made children together, for God's sakes, right?
yeah,
We're one, man. And what God has put together, let man not separate. So yeah, the aim is always my wife is my best friend, and we're gonna work on getting to be better best friends for the rest of our life. And
yeah,
it actually helps to see her as my best friend because I actually want what's best for her, right? I want to serve her. I want her to be happy. I want her to enjoy her life. I want to, surprise her with gifts. We're celebrating 14 years of marriage in 2 days,
let's
right? We're
fucking
go,
go.
we're going up to Sedona. We're gonna have a blast, right? No kids. Like, we got sitters. We got everything handled. We are going to be kid free for 48 hours, man. It's gonna be epic. We're going hiking. We're going eating. We're gonna massage. I don't know what we're gonna do. A bunch of fun stuff. Use
Yeah,
your imagination. It's gonna be great.
hell
But
yeah,
that's the thing, man. I say your spouse, period, is your best friend for life. But the hard part is when you let someone in that tight, they stab you. I never met a man or woman who didn't get stabbed by their spouse with some dagger word, comment, hurtful thing. They know what your deepest hurts are and they hit it. when they're threatened, when they're embarrassed, when they're frustrated, when they're angry. It happens in every single relationship. And that is where you need to learn to love and forgive. Take a beat, take a breath, come back, forgive, say how you're hurt, make up, move on. It's going to happen. It's going to happen hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times. In every marriage, these things happen. People say things, they make comments, they have passive aggression. And as you get older, you get better at learning how not to do those things, right? But man, when two pieces of sandpaper get together, man, it's pretty rough for a while. And if you're lucky to marry an Enneagram 2 or a 9, it gets pretty easy for a few years, and then there's a lot of built up resentment and things that didn't get said, and then it blows up.
Mm.
But the key is divorce is not the answer. We don't use the D word, man. We call it the D word. We don't say it. Period. We're not going to say it. As hard as it'll get, I ain't going to say it. And my grandkids will thank me. That's how I look at it. My grandkids will thank me. One of my best friends in the world, wife just delivered him papers. They got 4 sons. Painful, man. Like, talk about, and he didn't cheat. He didn't do any of that stuff. He's a good man. He's a good, godly man with a good business, good people, and highly respected. Yeah, is he perfect? Heck no. None of us are.
Yeah.
But watching that happen makes me tear up looking at him because he's one of my best buddies. But it makes me cry when I think of his kids.
Yeah.
Let me give you this
Yeah.
last piece of advice because I know we got to go soon. But what you don't heal from, you pass down. Just remember that.
Okay.
If you don't face your demons, they're going to raise your kids.
Mm.
Hear me on that.
Yeah.
If you don't face them and kill them and repent of them, get help, they're going to raise your kids. And man, if you're ever blessed enough to have a daughter, I mean,
Hope
sons are
so.
epic and fun, but I hope you have one of each because both are incredible in so many ways. But I heard this quote that I love. It's, your sons will follow your example, but your daughters will marry it.
Mm.
I don't know if
Yeah.
there's a better quote to help dads shape up than
Yeah.
that. Your sons will become your example, and your daughters will marry it. That to me is all I need to hear to be like, yep, I'm going to kill these demons. I'm going to get rid of these traumas. I'm going to heal from all this stuff. And we shouldn't be, what happens is when you have kids, you want to give them all the things you never had. I want to buy my kids all the things I never had. I want to give them all the experiences I never had. I don't want my kids to have to deal with all the things I had to deal with, blah, blah, blah. But here's what I would say is the wisdom here. Don't give your kids all the things you never had. Give your kids all the things that you never knew.
Yeah.
Don't give
You're
your
teaching.
kids.
You're trying to teach them wisdom.
That's right. Like, if you could pass on one of these 3 things to your kids, you ready? Of these 3 things, which of these would you most want to pass on to your son on your deathbed? All of your money and stuff, all of your knowledge, or all of your experience and wisdom? Which of those
Number
3?
3. Easy.
Boom.
Number 3. Yeah.
Never met a parent that didn't slam the button on number 3.
Yeah.
But just remember that, because at the end of your life, it's not about inheritance. It's about heritage. It's more about what you leave in them than to them. In fact, my advice is take inheritance. You'll be fine. Okay? You're a hard worker. You know how to create value for others. Like, you're going to take care of your family. Everybody thinks that their finish line is 5 times more than they need. At the end of your life, what you're going to want more of is experiences and conversations and dinners and walks on the beach and hangouts. So focus on that, man. Invest your inheritance in heritage.
Yeah.
Don't leave them nothing. Don't be dumb. Leave them an I love you gift, not a coasting gift,
Mm.
right? But take that inheritance as they grow and invest it in heritage, building memories, passing on experience, getting good coaching, One of the greatest tips I heard from a grandparent, one of our top families, they taught, this is one of our strategies in Connection in the series. They take $5,000 every year and they send their adult married children on a trip for the kids' anniversary, and they take the grandkids. Like, we've been doing that for a decade. It's the best investment we've ever made in our family. They bind
Nice.
to the
That's really awesome.
grandkids. Could you imagine having young kids and your parents like, here's your awesome epic anniversary week. Go. We got the grandkids. We got it. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? I would be like, I am eternally indebted to you guys, and you're my heroes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Someone listening to this right now needs to hear that.
Yeah. Hopefully my mom.
Yeah, seriously. So anyway, there you go, dude. What you don't heal from, you pass down.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, to make a full circle, reminds me of Dr. Jordan Peterson says, everything you shove under the rug basically is the dragon that's going to burn your fucking house down. And that's true. So, might as well try to attack that dragon while it's a little big flame, and it can only sting me a little bit, and I can attack it and I can go head on to it. And then one of the other things that made me think about experience is like going on trips with my buddies who also have kids and like raising them all at the same time and
Yep.
seeing us all like develop and grow and how they do things, how we do things, and talk about stuff like that. And are they going to play baseball like we played baseball, or what's their vibe going to be? Like all of those things just seem really cool and exciting. And like, can I get my son to also love WWE? That's a big thing. I gotta need a WWE partner.
Dude, I'm
uh,
gonna see a video of you in a year viral on social of doing like the WWE on the bed wrestling with him, and he pins you, and I'm gonna see that in
100%,
about
dude.
a year. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
my 1-year-old son is giving me an RKO off our bed for sure. Onto a bed of
Absolutely.
pillows or something.
There's
Yeah,
no
it's
more
gonna be
fun than
awesome.
that. No more fun than
Yeah.
that.
Um, well, Scott, dude, I really appreciate you, man. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Me specifically is sort of a self-indulgent podcast, but where should we go if we want more of you? We want to check out more of your stuff. I know there's a free guide that we can download. I'll link that in the show notes, but where else should we pop over to?
Yeah, I'm Scott Donnell all over socials. But if you want to learn more from like the top families and the strategies and the recipes we put together, we have this free case study. It's like the top 10 strategies of the top 10 families that we've studied. And they're just like brilliant killer tips, like how, like certain families, how they did the I do, we do, you do's in there. And Mentor Mondays are in there. Scamp after dinner to get the whole house cleaned with music and fun with your kids. Like there's so many brilliant strategies in that case study. And then if people want to go through any of our coaching programs, they can start there and go from there. So pretty simple.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Scott, man. I appreciate you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for tuning into that episode. And if you enjoyed it, click right here for another full-length episode of the podcast. And please don't forget to subscribe. But most importantly, above all else, please take good care of yourselves and others. And I'll see you next time. Lots of love. Cheers.